the garden of unspoken words. Amelia had always believed that love was something written in the small gestures of everyday life. The way someone looked at you when you weren't paying attention. The way silence felt safe instead of heavy. The way time seemed softer when you were with them. But she had never experienced it herself. Not until she met Daniel. They first saw each other on a rainy afternoon at the old city library. Amelia had run inside, clutching her umbrella that had flipped inside out, and there he was, sitting by the window, sketching the rain. His notebook was filled with lines that looked like poetry, though they were drawings. She paused for a moment, watching the rhythm of his pencil, before quickly walking past to hide her sudden curiosity. Daniel noticed her, of course. He always noticed details, the crack in the wall, the uneven sound of raindrops, or the quiet presence of a stranger who seemed lost in thought. He smiled faintly but said nothing. For weeks, they met at the same library. Amelia with her stack of books on philosophy and literature, Daniel with his sketchbook. They never spoke at first, just exchanged polite nods. But silence has its own way of building bridges. One day, when Amelia dropped a book, Daniel picked it up and asked, almost shyly, "Do you really read all of these?" She laughed. "Not all at once. But I try. Books make me feel less alone. Drawing does the same for me," he replied. That was how it began, two lonely souls finding comfort in their passions and, slowly, in each other. They started walking home together after their afternoons at the library. He lived just a few streets away from her. They would talk about everything and nothing, the smell of rain, the beauty of autumn leaves, the fears of growing older without purpose. Amelia realized that Daniel was not just an artist, he was a philosopher with a pencil. His drawings carried emotions he couldn't always express in words. And Daniel discovered that Amelia's words were like paintings, every sentence colored with sincerity, every thought shaped like art. It wasn't grand gestures that tied them together, it was the small things. The way Daniel brought her a cup of tea when she was too lost in her reading to notice the time. The way Amelia reminded him to look up from his sketches and see the sunset before it faded. The way they shared comfortable silences, knowing that love doesn't always need words. But love is never without its trials. Daniel carried a heavy burden. His father had abandoned the family years ago, leaving him with a fear that he would never be enough. He often doubted himself, wondering if his art was worthless, if his presence in Amelia's life was just temporary. Amelia, too, had her insecurities. She had grown up feeling invisible, the quiet girl no one noticed. Even in love, she feared that one day Daniel would see her as ordinary, and the magic would fade. There were nights when arguments flared, small misunderstandings that grew too sharp. Amelia wanted reassurance, Daniel wanted silence. She feared his distance meant indifference, he feared her questions meant disappointment. But every time, they chose to return. They learned to speak even when it was difficult, to listen even when it hurt. Amelia taught Daniel that vulnerability was not weakness, and Daniel taught Amelia that love was not about perfection but about presence. Months turned into years, and their bond deepened. From their journey, they both learned truths that were larger than themselves. 1. Love is not about fixing someone. Amelia realized she could not erase Daniel's fears, but she could stand beside him while he faced them. 2. Love is choosing again and again. Daniel discovered that love wasn't a single confession, it was the daily decision to stay, even when it was hard. 3. Love is built in the ordinary. It wasn't the dramatic moments that defined them, but the simple rituals, reading in silence, sketching by the window, walking home together. One spring morning, Daniel led Amelia to a hidden garden behind the library. He had been sketching there in secret for months. The walls were covered with ivy, the air thick with the fragrance of blooming roses. In the center, there was a wooden bench. On the wall beside it, Daniel had drawn countless sketches of Amelia, her reading, her laughing, her gazing at the rain. Each drawing carried a piece of what he could never fully say. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes. "You drew me?" Daniel nodded. "I never had the right words, but you've always been the reason behind them." For the first time, Amelia understood what love really meant. It was not about perfect words or flawless promises. It was about being seen, truly seen, and cherished in the quiet corners of life. She placed her hand in his and whispered, "You don't need the right words. I already know." Years later, Amelia would often tell her students, for she became a literature teacher, about the power of small moments. She would say, "Love is not found in fairy tales alone. It is written in the way someone listens to your silence, the way they stay when you falter, the way they see beauty in your ordinary self." And Daniel, now an artist whose works were admired far beyond their little town, would always sketch with the same truth in his heart, that love, real love, is not loud, it is steady, patient, and quietly transformative. Together, they built a life not of grand adventures, but of 1,000 little gestures, each one teaching them that the greatest love stories are not written in novels, but lived in the gardens of unspoken words.